What's up, guys? This is Pedro from My Stuttering Life, where you will hear the good, the bad, the very ugly. We're gonna laugh, we're gonna cry, but through it all, just know that you are not alone. So, let's get started. This is episode number 132, and my special guest is Danny Miguel. Danny is age 34, and currently he lives in Connecticut. He states, I started stuttering, surprisingly, at 18, which is kind of odd since most stutterers develop stuttering during their adolescent years. I became a situational stutterer, often long pauses, and struggled with it for 15 years until I found a program and a book late last year. After 2 to 3 months of diligently immersing myself in the author's methods, I overcame my stutter, which brings me here to discuss a little bit more about the book and the program. I am honored to have him as a guest with me on the My Stuttering Life podcast. Welcome, Danny Miguel.
Thank you, Pedro. I appreciate you having me a guest on your great podcast.
Thank you, sir. This is a huge honor. We have some topics to go over, so let's get started.
Let's do it.
Okay. So as I had read your intro, you started having a stutter at the age of 18. And I mean, as everyone knows, I mean, that is a little unusual.
Right.
Could you talk on how you had acquired your stutter?
Absolutely. I can tell you the exact date and time that happened too. It was May 27th, 2007, and I will always remember the time and place because I was in Giants Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, watching my favorite soccer team play a friendly match. And before the game began, the players came out to do their warm-ups and their stretches. And I specifically remember turning to one of my cousins to make a comment about a goalkeeper named Moratu. And for some reason, I just couldn't get his name out. And when that happened, it felt a little unusual and strange. And I never really thought much of it. But little did I know that was just the first of many stutters that I would have for the next 15 years.
I mean, wow. Because, what happens typically is that you get it at a very young age.
Right.
And then also, 3/4 of the people that have it, they either, they grow out of it, or, it just goes away. However, that extra quarter, and I'm in that quarter, that extra quarter, mm-hmm. It is with you forever. I mean, right. And woo. And so you had yours at the age of 18. And so you don't have any, family members who stutter, don't you? Or do you?
Yes, I had a cousin, but unfortunately he passed 4 months ago. And it's a shame because, like I told you in my bio, I found this program, and during my month 2 of the program, that's when he unfortunately passed. And if he was still here today, then I would have told him about this program, and he definitely would have beaten it just like I did. So it's unfortunate, but,
Well, sir, first of all, you have my uh, d- deepest condolences, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, you didn't have an issue in school, right?
No, not until I went to college.
Okay, so let's talk about college because college is a whole other animal.
Yep.
Danny Miguel. um, so so how did you navigate college life with having a stutter?
It wasn't too bad because, in college you don't really get called out a lot to answer questions or make presentations. Well, some presentations, but like I said earlier, I became a situational stutterer where I would have random flare-ups. But for some reason, when I did have to make a presentation in college, it went smoothingly well. I don't know if it's because I was inside my own head to slow down and speak clearly and not think about it. But there were other times where, the professor would ask questions and I would raise my hand. And sometimes I would take a bit longer to answer the question.
We are all different, and I mean,
Right.
you know, st- st- stuttering is so individualized, and so,
Right.
in college, oh my gosh, I mean, let me tell you, Danny Miguel, group, you know, projects, aka the presentations, I did everything in my power. I would tell everyone in my group, look, I'll do all the work. You don't have to do nothing except talk.
Mm-hmm.
If all y'all talk, I will do every single thing. I handled the actual speech, the PowerPoint, the graphics. So I did everything. All they had to do was talk. And believe me, Danny, it worked for Pedro. Let me tell you, it worked for me all through college.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. I do not have control over it. It comes out whenever it comes out.
Right.
If I had control,
Mm-hmm.
that'd be a whole other podcast. But no, this Pedro, it, it will just pop up whenever it wants to pop up. I do my breathing. I do my meditation. And and um and that has helped out a great deal. So yes.
That's great.
So now, how did you handle the pandemic? I know that, in March of 2020, everything shut down and we had to do everything on Zoom or Skype
Right.
or Teams. Um, did you also have to do that? And if you did, how did you handle that? Because, it is stressful.
Yes. Well, during the pandemic, unfortunately, I got let go of my job, but I always try to find the positive in things. And looking back at it now, it was definitely a blessing in disguise because when I was trying to search for jobs, I did see a lot of remote jobs come up. So I found this website called Upwork, where you can do online data entry, bookkeeping, and among other things online. So I applied to different people and they accepted my application. And since then, I've been working remotely on Upwork.
Wow, that is awesome, sir. Because I don't have to tell you, um, you know, you know, be, before COVID ever happened, we were all in the office and talking to human beings and interacting and breathing, you know, and then as it hit, they handed me a webcam and a headset and said, you are working from home now. You have to do everything on Zoom and Teams. And I mean, let me tell you, Danny, I mean, I don't have to tell you, Danny, but I mean, if you are a person who stutters, it completely pushed us out of our comfort zones.
Right.
And let me tell you, I practiced like nobody's business, Danny. I practiced, in Zoom and Teams and PowerPoint. And so, yeah, that was kind of rough. It was kind of rough.
Yeah.
So as we are talking about our jobs, had you ever experienced discrimination because of your stutter?
Oh, absolutely not. I was fortunate enough during my entire job career to be blessed with some nice kindred spirits who didn't judge me because of my stutter. So I thank God every night that He put me in good places where there were kind, compassionate people.
Oh, Danny, that is awesome. That is awesome. Because here in Texas, Lotte, Danny, it is rough.
Yep.
It is. I mean, I had people in job interviews just look at me, I'm, and their mouths are wide open, and I've had a couple who laughed, and I said, "Oh no,
Yeah,
I think I'm done. Have a good day." Yeah, it's it was just extremely stressful until I told myself in a job interview, they are not interviewing me. I am going to interview them.
right.
And once I did that, I mean, it was all good. It was all good. And now I love my job. I'm a teacher. I'm a trainer, and it's just awesome. It's
fantastic.
It's just awesome, Danny. All right. So in the time that you had your stutter, how did you handle the telephones? How did you handle, drive-throughs? How did you handle ordering at a restaurant?
Yeah, I didn't really put myself in a lot of those positions because as stutterers, we tend to hold back a lot. But when I did eventually get in those situations, I think I handled it relatively well because in my case, I was a situational stutterer and I would have a slight long pause. And I didn't really get judged a lot while, I was in the drive-through or ordering at a restaurant or speaking on the telephone. So again, I've been pretty much blessed.
So I am a little curious. Do you ever had used like a helper word, a bumper word?
Yes, back then I used to say a lot in front of a feared word that I would feel that I would eventually stutter on. So and ums a lot.
Oh, I mean, I have those every day, Danny. I have those every day. And so, you know, at my job, all pre-COVID, I mean, everyone in the hallway would tell me, uh, uh, good morning. And so, oh man, the pressure, Danny, to tell
Right.
of having to respond to each one. And so I used a helper word. I used a bumper word. Hi, good morning. Hey, good morning. Hi, good morning. Hey, good afternoon. Hi, good afternoon. Because I just had to get it out. And so, I have a lot of tools in my toolbox, to help me out in almost every situation. So it's
That's
like,
great.
yeah, I mean, we have to do what we have to do because it's called survival.
Right.
Yeah. So, so as you were talking about, your stutter would pop up in certain situations. I mean, you know, I mean, uh, in doing public speaking, um, you know, I mean, was that ever an issue for you?
Um, no, because like I mentioned earlier, for some reason, when I did have to public speak, like make a presentation in front of the class, for some reason, I didn't stutter while doing it. And I don't know if that was a combination of me inside my own head telling myself to stay calm and elongate your words and just focus on the message at hand.
Did you ever have a hard time on your name?
Yes, I remember one incident back in 2012 where I served in jury duty and we all had to go around saying our first and last names, and I struggled to say my last name. So I pretended to do a fake cough, and then thankfully I got my last name out. I think that was the only incident that I recall ever having trouble with my name.
Ooh, Danny, I mean, I have to tell you, because, if I had a quarter for every time, because, people would ask me, uh, what is your name? And, I would have a pause, like a long pause, Danny, a long pause. Right. And then here comes the dreaded question. Did you forget your name?
Right. Yeah.
Like, okay. So I got to breathe. And so here is where I'm going to educate, because the old Pedro, Danny, the old Pedro would rage, just lose it. But no, I am a much older Pedro. And so what I do at that time is I just educate them. I tell them, this is what I have. This is what you're going to see, because my eyes, they close, my arms go all over the place if I have a block, and so because my motto is, if you help to educate them, for the next time it happens to that person, they will be better equipped to handle the next person.
That's beautiful.
Because and I do it everywhere, Danny. Everywhere I go, I just have to educate, because, I'm shocked that there are still people out there who don't know what it is.
Right.
And it's like, well, let me tell you, and let me show you. And just
I don't
Pedro.
know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And I don't know about you, but I feel stuttering is probably the only disease still out there that gets poked fun of a lot by people that don't understand the condition of people that have it.
Oh, Danny, you are so correct, sir. The only one. Because, and and why is it allowed? And that's like, no, I'm sorry. No. Woo. And so, speaking on that, so, I ask every guest on my podcast, this specific question, and it's a big one. And, and I respect, their answer. So I want to ask you this, sir. So do you consider stuttering a disability?
I guess it depends on what type of person you are. Because in my case, I never found it to be a disability, because it didn't make sense to me of why, when I was alone by myself in a room, I would speak fluently. Every word would just come out of my mouth. But the minute I was in the presence of another human, that's when the situational stutters started to come out. So no, I don't view it as a disability, because in my opinion, it can be changed.
Thank you, sir, for that. So, did you ever think that that having a stutter might impact your career?
Yes and no, but again, like I said earlier, I've been blessed with good, fortunate bosses and higher ups, and I really don't find speech to be a problem in your career because if you work hard enough and you show other people that you're a hard worker and determined and you get the job done, and then the work should speak for itself and not the way that you speak.
All right, sir. Awesome. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Okay, so we will switch gears just a little bit. Now, in the time period in which you had your stutter, how was a dating? Because as you know, it's rough for everybody. However, if you have a stutter, it's like a million times more difficult. How did you navigate dating with having a stutter?
Well, to be honest, I'm kind of an introvert, and when I turned 18, I also had some other problems, personal problems in my life. So during that stretch of time, I really never dated anyone.
I got you, sir. Yes, sir. And I mean, I've spoken to a lot of people, who have a stutter, and they find, dating extremely intimidating and stressful. Mm-hmm. But, Nike has a great campaign. Just do it. Just go out there and talk to whomever you want to talk to. If they shoot you down, oh, well, that right. Isn't the person for you. And just move right. on. And just move
exactly.
on. Exactly. Yeah.
There's plenty of fish in the sea.
There is. Yes, sir. Hold on. You are correct, Danny. So, do you use many of this new voice-activated technology, like, a Google Home or Alexa or Siri?
Yes, I use two of the latter, Alexa and Siri.
And how do you fare with those?
Well, at first, when I did have my stutter and there was other people around me, I would struggle to say the word Alexa, and it would just be a long pause because my brother could say, "Oh, I have this question. Can you go ask Siri or go ask Alexa to see what the answer is?" And sometimes there would be a long pause, so it was kind of embarrassing. And speaking of my brother, there was one time where his favorite soccer team played a final. And then the following day, my father made us lunch. And then as a joke, I wanted to tell Alexa the score line of that final because his team ended up losing. So as a joke, I tried to say it, and I struggled when saying it. And I don't want to offend anyone because I didn't find any offense to this, but he responded to me with, "You know what? That joke would have been funnier if you actually got the words out." So it stung for a little bit, but I'm not one of those sensitive softies that took great offense to it. And if anything, it just used more motivation to find a method to overcome my stuttering. So looking back, it was definitely motivational fuel for me.
Oh, yes, sir. I got you on that one. And so in the time frame that you had your stutter, I'm sure you had a lot of obstacles and challenges. Can you pick the greatest one and how did you overcome it?
Well, the greatest obstacle of overcoming stuttering is a book and program that I found earlier this year. I came across a comment that I saw someone leave on the Stutter Reddit page, and I direct messaged that person and said that, Your post was absolutely heartwarming, and thank you for the kind words that you expressed through it. And he or she replied back saying, yeah, and what helped me the most of overcoming my stuttering was a book called How to Stop Stuttering and Love Speaking by Lee G. Lovett. And she recommended it to me, and I immediately went on Amazon and purchased it. And it's a very, very long book. It's 700 pages, but it will be the greatest investment that you ever spend your money on, because I can honestly say this book not only touched my heart, but my soul. It literally spoke to me. Like, he has so much information about his obstacles with stuttering and how he overcame it, and the other PWS in which he was helping overcome it. And then, of course, the methods he uses to overcome his stuttering.
Wow, that is just awesome, sir. Because, I mean, there are a bunch of therapies that are out there and modules, and there are some, medical devices. I mean, I've known, people who stutter who go the route of a medication. Mm-hmm. I know a couple, who did cannabis. There was a guy who did mushrooms, and so here is what I tell everybody. We have a common denominator that we all have a stutter, and so a bunch of these treatments are not cookie cutter. And so what works for one person, it may not work for another person. However, if that is what you want to do, I am 100% behind you, because I've had a bunch of guests on my podcast, and they are truly awesome. And they have done different types of therapies, and that has worked for them. And so that is just awesome. And so I am extremely grateful to have you on here to talk about this book and how it had helped you.
Mm-hmm. Would you like me to dive into the book some more?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay, well, it's kind of hard to give you a short summary of a 700-page book, because I would need another hour or two. But
that is a long book, sir.
Yes, it's a very long book, but it's worth the read. Basically, like I said earlier, it's a 700-page book, and it's about an ex-lawyer who had a severe stutter himself. And he basically found 13 different ways to combat stuttering. Now, while I like to dive into all 13 of what he calls crutches or methods, basically, he has 13 crutches. And the first one is you can drop the first syllable of each letter and keep right on talking. The second crutch is to find a similar word or synonym. The third crutch is to skip the word or spell it. The fourth crutch is to insert sounds or other words and jam it into the feared word. The fifth one is, I'm drawing a blank here, is to rephrase the entire thought completely. The sixth one, no, that was the sixth one. No, the seventh one is to whisper, which is perfect because when we whisper, we never stutter. The eighth one is voice modulation. The ninth one is using extreme pronunciation. The 10th one is word linkage, where you link all your words together. The 11th one is to speak like a king or queen, and he basically has subversions, which is to stop talking, ask questions, speak softly, speak slowly, be expressive as you can, use extreme pronunciation. And the 12th one is to smile. And the 13th one is the end goal in which all of us strive for, and that's no crutch at all. And I can honestly say, if you immerse yourself and diligently follow all these methods, and then you too can overcome your stuttering.
Wow. I do all those, I believe. I've had 20 years of speech therapy. I've done hypnosis, and whatnot. And now I do my daily, a meditation, and that, truly, it has helped me out a great deal. And so whatever is out there to help you with your stutter, you go do it. You go do it. If it helps you, that is awesome. I am in your corner. And so I want to thank you, Danny Miguel. Thank you for coming on. And you are the first guest in 6 years who has had it later in life. And so I want to thank you for coming on and talking about your journey. In this book. I have heard about this book. I'm in that, that a Reddit group, and then I'm also in, a bunch of other groups. And so I'm glad that you had found this and that it had helped you. And so I want to thank you, sir, for coming on today and talking about the book. I will have a link to the book on the podcast notes. And so that way anyone around the world can go there and click on it. Because I am extremely all blessed that this podcast is in 121 countries on 6 continents. So I am extremely, I'm blessed to have this platform. And so I want to just tell you one more time, sir. Thank you. Down the road, let's do this again, because, I'm curious on that 700-page book.
Absolutely. And I thank you for giving me the time to come on your great podcast and speak about my journey in this amazing book and program that I found. Because if this book and program can inspire one person out there to overcome their stuttering, then I did my job for the day.
How cool. Thank you, sir. I hope you have an awesome day. Take care, be well, and stay safe.
Likewise. Thank you again.
Thank you, sir.
If you like this podcast, head on over to Apple Podcasts. Subscribe, rate, and review. Thank you for listening, and we will talk again.